the model from which we come is basically this. Marriage used to be an economic enterprise. It was a mercantile arrangement. Men depended on women's fidelity for patrimony and lineage, so that I can know who are my children and who gets the cows when I die.
When was this? What time frame?
This is pretty much it still is in most parts of the world, by the way, and I would say it's probably, we're going to go about 50, 60 years back.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, wow.
That's it. People didn't choose who they married.
Wow. Yeah.
People didn't choose who they married. Arranged marriage is the norm still in many parts of the world.
Right.
Certainly you didn't marry because you fell in love. You married somebody who was a good person with whom to have a family with. And if love grew, that was wonderful, but it was not the beginning element of a relationship. Desire certainly was not what sex was about in marriage. So this is the traditional model. That doesn't mean that there was no good sex and intimate sex. That doesn't mean there was no passion. And that doesn't mean there was no love. But that was not what the institution of marriage was meant for. Marriage that becomes a romantic arrangement, I will begin that at the end of the 19th century. It's about 150 years old.
Okay.
But it needs contraception. It needs feminism. It needs a lot of things to become what we want today, which is a relationship that is rooted in intimacy. Intimacy, which until not too long ago was basically we live together, we share the vicissitudes of everyday life, we raise the kids, we work the land. Intimacy now is into me see. I share with you my inner life. That required individualism. Before individualism, we didn't have the concept self. That's beginning of the 20th century, late 19th, beginning 20th. So it's a lot of things go together,
Yeah.
The rise of individualism, the move away from religion as the center, the person becomes the center, hence my individual happiness becomes central. Now I move away from the community, I choose you, and as I choose you, now you become responsible to alleviate my existential aloneness. That's why you become my village.
Right.
Because I've left the village. And you're going to make me feel that I matter, because I'm not judged by my actions. I'm judged by my personality. It's very different. I'm not, you understand? It's a whole new thing. It's like who I am, not what I do. As in, do I show up in church? Am I an upstanding citizen? Am I doing right by my parents? It's personality. It's a whole new thing.
Right.
So trust, affection, intimacy, desire become the four pillars, within modern relationships. That is a whole new model. Affairs used to be, actually adultery for most of history was the space where people went to look for true love, because marriage was
arranged
and economic. Now that we brought love into marriage, adultery destroys it. So what did we do? We brought love into marriage. We brought sex to love. We connected happiness to emotional and sexual satisfaction. And we also want a passionate marriage, which for most of history has been a contradiction in terms. Passion has always existed, but somewhere else.
Right. In the affair or in whatever.
Yes, wherever.
Wow.
Wherever.
How are we supposed to navigate all this? I mean,
actually, I think it's exciting.
Okay.
I really do, because nobody, in effect, wants to go backwards.
No, absolutely not.
Nobody wants to go back where you are stuck. This is it. You have one chance for life, and the only thing you have going is that you die younger.
Right, exactly.
Okay? You actually have the opportunity to do it again, to try a different story, to be a different person, to be a better partner, and to be a better parent, for that matter.
Right.
And I think that is something that we've never had, is the opportunity to rewrite that story. We always had one job for life and one relationship for life. I think one of the, of course, we therefore didn't have to decide 5 times what do I want to do.
Right, exactly.
But we have been given a unique opportunity. I can have more than one career, or more than one job, more than one identity in this world, and I can have a whole new family, and I can have a whole new love that I can start at 60, 40, 50, 60, and have another 20 years with somebody, and actually do it better this time. I think that is actually one of the greatest gifts we've been given.
How long have you been married?
30-something.
30-something years. Okay. And how is your work?
Kids.
2 kids. And how is your work and the constant conversation you're in about this work supported or not supported your relationship with your husband?
You know, there was a comment that I once made a few years back, and it's become it's become a line in one of my TED talks. So, you know, where I said most of the people today are going to have 2 or 3 relationships in their adult
marriages
life.
Or just relationships?
Committed relationships. Marriages. I could say marriages, but let's say in Europe, so many of us don't marry. So I would say committed relationships. Most of us are going to have 2 or 3 committed relationships in our lifetime, due to divorce, due to death, various things. Some of us are going to do it with the same person. I have had probably 3 marriages to the same man.
Wow.
Not because we divorced or anything, but because over 30 years, we have had to redefine ourselves,
Sure.
to restructure everything that you do in companies, you know,
Right.
to change our brand.
What works for 5 years is not going to work for the next.
That's right.
5
What
years.
works when we are just 2 is not the same as what works when we are 4.
Right.
What works when we're in our 20s isn't the same as when we are in our 50s. What works when we have this type of career is not the same as now.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the very principles that you apply to companies today, flexibility, fluidity, the ability to reinvent itself, to redefine itself, to manage tradition and innovation, is really what has to enter into all modern love. That's what coupledom is about. Those who can do it with each other, and the other ones do it by finding a new person.
So what's the ideal relationship moving forward in our
It's
our time?
this. It's you sit every once in a while and you say, how are we doing? What are the strengths between us? What, you know, it's. I actually think people should have do different commitment ceremonies in the course of a marriage.
Really?
Yes, I think that every few years or every year they should have a little summit, or they should have a little, whatever they want to call it. They could have a ceremony, a kind of where are we at? A checking in. How are we doing? What has been good in our life? What could we do better? What could we do differently? Are we doing right by our children? Are we giving, you know, are we meeting some of our important needs at this point? What has changed for us? We've just been sick. We've just lost a parent. We've just lost a child. What's changing in our life? And to actually address this head on, what the problem is in couples is that most of the big topics are addressed when there is a crisis, rather than when actually things are good.
When you're calm.
When you're calm.
You
Of course,
can
you have
speak
less
clearly.
incentive to change when things are good. But you have less creativity to change when things are bad. Same
Right.
for companies, same for couples.
Wow.
So I think retreats for couples are unique, actually, because couples are often isolated units. They talk to nobody. Sometimes women will talk to women, men will talk to no one. And when a group of couple come together in a group, it is powerful. It is so normalizing to know what's happening at the neighbors that you never know and that you can always imagine is different from yours. It's so powerful to hear your partner like you can never hear them because somebody else just said the same thing, but just with a different word or just with a little bit more distance so that you're not instantly reactive and defensive. I think that conversation between couples, the same way that you bring entrepreneurs together to a mastermind to talk about their companies.
To hear something in a different way, that it finally lands with you.
Yes.
And you can take action towards it.
Yes, I think that if we could actually bring the entrepreneurs and their partners, it would be an incredible thing. I do a lot of it with YPO, with EO, with all these.
Right.
I see it each time. And not to separate the partners from the others. No, actually have the people in the room, you know, have a fishbowl where the entrepreneurs talk about what their life is. And then have a fishbowl on the other side where the next inner circle is where the partners talk about what it's like to live with the entrepreneur. And have each of them listen to the other. It's been one of the richest conversations I've had in that space.
Wow. Okay. And what's your thoughts on divorce? You know, you said over 50% are divorced the first time, and over 65% the second time. Do you believe that, or do you think it's that people should experience divorce, or they should go through that, or do you think that they're being lazy, or do you think that they're just not committed to it enough, or that they haven't tried all the different things to become better themselves and to see the good in their partner?
I would start differently. I would
Or is
say...
is that a bad question?
No, not at all. But I would say differently. I would think that the first thing that has to happen with divorce is to take away the concept of failure. As long as we still think that it is marriage for life, till death do us apart, when de facto, for the majority of couples today, it's still love dies, not till death do us apart.
That's when we divorce.
Yeah.
We break up when
Yeah.
love dies.
Yes. And then we think it's a failure. I think that a relationship that has lasted for 15, 20, 25 years sometimes, that's not a failure.
It's a huge success.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a good success. And they may have done certain things poorly and other things very well. I think a lot of people who divorce don't have the chance to actually appreciate how many good things they had in their relationship, and to do what I like to call, I like Gwyneth Paltrow, the conscious uncoupling.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning,
Oh, yeah, with Catherine Woodward Thomas. Do you know her?
yeah,
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah.
This is what I really am thankful for that we had together. This is what I take with me from what we had together. This is what I wish for you as we move forward. This is how I hope our children will remember us. That is a very different departure. And when you do that departure, you also have a very different continuity in your next relationships later than carrying bitterness and victimization and resentment and all of that. So I think that many people, something ends, but they moved in together. They helped each other through school. They helped each other in the beginning of their careers. They helped each other when their parents were sick. They helped each other when their parent died. They helped each other with raising children. This is a lot of what marriage is about. They've had good marriages for all sake and purposes. And maybe other things have come in, and they were not necessarily always that nice to each other, and maybe they hurt each other, and maybe they abandoned each other, maybe they betrayed each other. Lots of other things come in too. But this stuff all disappears because of the negative that then sits on it, making it look like their marriage didn't work out. It failed. Why? It failed because it ended. The only time it's successful is when they meet in the funeral home.
Interesting. So you think we should redefine or look at it differently?
Yes. I think that marriage has to be disentangled from the concept of
death do us part. Or
yes. I think that divorce as the proof that a marriage failed is the wrong conclusion.
Right.
It's not right. And it takes away from people decades of enormous endeavors and constructive stuff. It's not because a company closed that a company failed.
Right. Companies close all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. So are you saying that, since we're evolving and growing and having different needs and desires and things like that, that we should expect, to start a family and then get divorced? And how is that going to affect our children's lives going forward? Should we be expecting more of that and be okay with just, well, now I've got a new partner and a new stepmom or stepdad, and this is how we have multiple families now? How is that going to be moving forward?
Listen, when there was no divorce, basically the ones who took the brunt of it were the women. The supposed stability of the family basically rested because the woman stayed put, made sure that the children had were taken care of.
And the man went out and did what he wanted.
Many times. If they had the possibility, they certainly would. So I think that we definitely have a model today that is more focused on the adults. When you divorce, it's for the well-being of the adult. It's not for, unless there's real egregious, issues in the family. It's not for the benefit of the children. It's for the benefit of the adult. A divorce is not the end of the family. It's the reorganization of the family. It's the end of the couple. But it's not the end of the family. And if the couple can disentangle with more integrity and more respect and more real thoughts about the children, not manipulation for the good of the children, then the family can actually reorganize better. And this is where it's going to go. So we can bemoan it, but the fact is we better think about a better way of doing it so that the children of today, look, the millennials of today, 50% of them are either the children of the divorced or the disillusioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay?
Parents are divorced, yeah.
And half of you men, grew up with single mothers.
Mm-hmm.
So you've come out with a very different kind of emotional intelligence.
Right.
Because you actually were speaking to those mothers at the table the whole time. And they engaged you in conversations in ways that often did not take place if the father would have been at the table.
Right.
So you come, I think it's a very, very beautiful new generation of men actually that emerges out of this, that we don't think of it. They were at the table with mom, and when mom said, "How was your day?" she was not content with just, "It was good," or "It was all right."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "What?" She had another question and another question. And and you've developed a kind of an emotional literacy that most boomers don't have a clue about, men.
Sure.
That the millennial man really has available.
Interesting.
You understand? I don't think you've ever thought of that.
Yeah,
right?
no, that's great. That's great.
But
Yeah,
you see it. I mean, watch yourself at the table, at breakfast. There was a whole... that conversation did not happen when Dad was at the table. Not that there was no conversation. It was a different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think families are reorganizing.
And that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not failures. It's not bad. It's not wrong.
We have blended families.
Yeah.
We have single parent families. We have gay families. We have accordion families. We have long distance families. We have the fastest growing model of couples in America today is the LAT, living apart together. That is the fastest growing, and it's a boomer model. It's the people after 55.
Wow.
Okay? Who are in relationships but don't live with their partner.
Interesting. Why?
Because they often have their own families, because they have their own living arrangement, because one of them is still working, one of them is already preparing and downsizing. Lots of different reasons for why they prefer to have the benefits of the connection and of the relationship.
And their own space.
And their own space.
Interesting.
Or because they want to stay closer to their children or grandchildren, while the other person has their grandchildren elsewhere. It's millions. Of course, the question of the LAT is what will happen when they get older. Do you have the same commitment to a person who is aging and getting sick when you have not lived with them and you have maintained so much of your own life? Because I meet you in my 50s. I have a whole life and I'm not willing to let go of that life.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be with you and
create a relationship
and connect things, but I don't want to let go of I have a whole world of my own,
Yeah.
So that's the LAT model.
Sure.
And we don't know what the LAT model will do for public health.
Yeah.
We know that men, live better in older age when there is somebody next to them. They don't take good care of themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And if you want to learn more about mastering relationships, then make sure to check out this video right here.
Most people go dating
Here's what
with.
I want.
Yes. Here's what you need to be for me. For me to then be interested in you.
Right.
Be compelling to someone else rather than wait for them to dazzle you so that you can swipe in one direction or another.